Hello, everyone. Leemus here with another episode of Leemus Reacts. It's kind of a new series taking shape. Title is still a title in progress. Um, but basically, where I take and either react or give my thoughts, opinions, kind of a review as well, kind of like a react and review, I guess, of different things going on in pop culture and different news events and such. So, currently, today's episode, as you've probably seen from the title or the thumbnail or the intro, we're going to talk about the new Hawkeye series that just started for the MCU for Marvel over on Disney Plus. It's their newest Disney Plus show. I don't know what number this is. So they've had WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If. So this will be the 5th of the Disney Plus shows, if I'm right. Starting up, and they released 2 episodes at one time. So there's a lot to talk about, a lot to kind of break down. I'm not going to go into like straight detail. I'm not going to like go through every single moment and every single scene and kind of break it down. So basically, the goal with this is going to be to kind of do like a breakdown of just my thoughts and some little things I thought of while watching the show, or certain little Easter eggs that I noticed that I thought was kind of cool, either nods or maybe possible setups for the future. Some questions that I had that hopefully will be answered, or maybe some of you guys may know and be able to answer for me. So I do want to say before I really get into it, spoiler warning is in effect. So if you've not seen the first 2 episodes, go check them out. I will say my spoiler-free first thoughts is I really enjoyed it. Now I am a bit biased because I'm one of the few people that actually really likes Hawkeye. I've always really enjoyed the character. He's not my favorite by no means, but I've always really respected and enjoyed his character, and especially in the MCU, I think Jeremy Renner does a great job. I'm a big fan of his as well. A lot of his movies and acting that I feel like kind of flies under the radar and doesn't get a lot of notice or a lot of love. So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I enjoy the direction it's going. I'm also a bit of a Christmas freak, as you may or may not know from the other videos on the channel here or the TikToks and stuff I've been doing recently. But I do love Christmas, and this series is set at Christmas time. It's the first kind of... I don't know if any of the other Marvel movies or shows have been set around Christmas or even had anything to do with Christmas. I know they're planning more holiday-themed things. I know next year I think they're going to have like a Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. But I don't know that we've seen any kind of Christmas or holiday stuff taking place in any of the Marvel movies or shows, the MCU stuff. I digress, I don't know. But either way, it is very exciting, and I'm excited. It almost feels... Another big thing that I really like with Christmas, and that I was excited for the Hawkeye series being set there and being kind of a superhero show, but him being a hero that doesn't have actual powers, he's just a lot of good skills and stuff, it's very Die Hard-esque. I'm a big Die Hard fan. Even though there are obvious differences between like the initial Die Hard 1 and obviously the Hawkeye series, because it's not all taking place inside one building. But I will say the fact that it kind of has Hawkeye going and Kate Bishop going all around New York and stuff, and having to get into various little adventures and scenarios, it almost feels like Die Hard with a Vengeance if that took place at Christmas. Which Die Hard with a Vengeance is the 3rd one, and it was the first one not to take place at Christmas. So it's kind of funny, if they would have had it take place at Christmas, like the first 2 Die Hards, this is kind of what it would have been like, in my opinion. So, without further ado, spoiler warning is in effect. So if you don't want any spoilers from here on in, from plot points and scenes from the episode, you definitely probably don't want to be watching this video. You may want to just move on from here. But yeah, so we're going to get into some scenes and just thoughts starting now. So my first thing I wanted to touch on which is the thing that's coming on everybody's mind because it was like one of the first things in the episode, is Rogers the Musical. Now, as we know, I am a Captain America fan. You know, if you've seen any of our gameplay footage, my gamer tag is Cap America 88. Yeah, my nickname in high school was Cap, or the Captain. I got called a lot. I've got tons of Captain America merch and stuff. I've dressed up as Captain America for Halloween. So, needless to say, Rogers the Musical is prime choice for me. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I'm also a theater kid. That I should note that as well. But yeah, I know that I've heard rumors that they are actually toying with the idea, or actually considering making a full-on Avengers-esque musical type thing. Like, even if it's like a musical episode, or just like, because in the CW DC universe, the Flash did this, right? The Arrowverse, Flashverse, they had an episode that was dedicated to, they made a whole episode of musical and had a bunch of them, like, their cast that could actually sing. And a lot of the Marvel cast can actually sing. A lot of them actually have either singing careers or singing training, or even just natural singing ability outside of their normal acting abilities. And so I would really like to see something like that. I think I'd like to see it fleshed out. But for the actual musical, I thought it was kind of comical. I thought it was a lot of fun. You know, it kind of playing on the whole Hamilton obsession that obviously started in Broadway, but Disney Plus, I feel like when they brought Hamilton to Disney Plus, kind of really revived and revitalized a lot of that fandom and the love for the stage musicals and stuff. So it's kind of ironic and fitting that in a Marvel Disney Plus show, they're throwing a nod at some of their musical talents and forays. Also, now I don't know if this is any, just more coincidence. I think it's more coincidence, but it's funny because Netflix just released, I think it's called Tick, Tick, Boom, which is the new Andrew Garfield musical, which is based on the creating of Rent and stuff. They released that, I think, this week or last week, and then Disney Plus releases Hawkeye, which isn't a musical, but it has a whole scene based around a musical and Rogers the Musical, so that's kind of funny. It just must be a kind of time of the year kind of thing. But yeah, I really liked Rogers the Musical. I thought it was hilarious. I thought there's a lot of funny little one-liners, like the whole fact that Ant-Man was in it, and Hawkeye says he wasn't actually at the Battle of New York. Speaking of the Battle of New York, speaking of that, this is another thing I wanted to touch on. And I've watched I actually have a couple of other breakdown and Easter egg people that point out stuff and talk about these Marvel projects and stuff. One of them is the Cosmic Wonder, who I'm a big fan of, so definitely go check his channel out. And he does the more in-depth detail breakdown, scene by scene. But one of the things that I didn't see in his breakdown, I may have just overlooked it or not heard it, but that I'm kind of curious about myself, that I'm wondering if anybody else picked up on, and it may be a coincidence, maybe that's why that it wasn't mentioned, but something that I kind of caught wind of that I'm curious about is there's a point when Clint and Kate Bishop are on the run from the Tracksuit Mafia, and they're trying to think of a place to go lay low, or he's asking her, or she's asking him or something. She says, "Can't we go to Avengers Tower?" And he says, "No, Tony sold that." So, and that to me, I feel like it's kind of like a little Easter egg or a little nod, because in the comics, it may have been both at separate times. I know in the comics at one point, Norman Osborn buys Avengers Tower. Norman Osborn turns it into like Oscorp or whatever. Also, I think Wilson Fisk at one point maybe had bought it, or could have obtained the Avengers Tower at one point. But that's one thing I wonder. I want to know, they kind of put a lot of emphasis whenever he said Tony sold the tower or sold it. I feel like that's kind of a nod towards something. I don't know. I've heard rumors that before in some of the stuff that they were going to set up an MCU version of Norman Osborn to be one of the big bads, or one of the miniature big bads of Phase 4 and 5. And so we could see Avengers Tower turn into Oscorp. But I've also heard that with the Hawkeye series leading into the Echo series, that Kingpin is going to be very attached. and be making it come back into the MCU. So it could be Wilson Fisk that bought it, or it could be another. It could just be a random person that bought it, or it could be another like big tycoon type bad guy. It could be Justin Hammer. I don't know. But I still feel like they said that line deliberately, and Hawkeye kind of delivered it in such a way that there's more meaning behind the whole Tony sold the tower, Avengers Tower, to someone than what was really explored yet. So it's a good question that I have that maybe some of you guys may be able to elaborate on, or just tell me I'm crazy and it's just a coincidence. But speaking of Kingpin and the Mafia ties, I'm a big fan of Mafia movies and mob movies in general. Like Goodfellas, The Irishman, you've got the Godfather movies, obviously, Gangster Squad. There's so many good like little avenues. Mob City was a good one that came out a while back. So I'm wondering, obviously we're getting the Tracksuit Mafia. They're kind of goofy, kind of playing it off more goofy style. But I'm wondering if this will open the door for a potential more mob or mafia type stuff in the MCU that I would be kind of curious to see. You could have like the Magia, which is a big mobster mafia presence in the comics. Obviously with Kingpin is a lot of mob ties and connections, and they're hinting at him possibly with setting up Echo in this. You've got like the Hood. I think he's called the Hood. I'm struggling to remember his name right now. He was a big player, I think, with the mob, and mob connections, and Spider-Man Noir. I was going to say, with the Spider-Verse, they're setting up kind of the Spider-Verse thing and the multiverse. I would love to see, like, or even there's a whole section of Noir, actually, come to think of it. Marvel had a whole section, a whole run of comics where they had an X-Men Noir. I believe there's a Fantastic Four Noir and obviously Spider-Man Noir. They had a whole noir universe, and that would be something kind of cool to see. Maybe like any of them, like alternate versions. Like even if they just took the idea from the comics and within the multiverse, like maybe a multiverse or madness, or if we see a splinter off, maybe we get like just a multiverse or battle world Disney Plus series, and each episode, kind of like WandaVision, but each episode takes a look at a different multiverse. Or maybe in the What If season 2, we may get a look into like the noir, and you get to see some of our actual Avengers characters if they were in that noir universe. So that's a thought, since they're kind of exploring mafia ties in this. So next I wanted to, one of the Easter eggs that I noticed that I did want to kind of touch on and mention was when Kate is on the roof of her school, I guess, or near her school, when she's going to shoot the bell tower. There's a scene where she's wanting to shoot a bell tower, and her friend calls, and her friend's name is Greer, which I feel like is a pretty heavy reference to Greer. There's she went by two different names in the comics. There's Greer Grant originally, I think, and then she becomes Greer Nelson, maybe, or vice versa. But Tigra, however you pronounce it, who I feel like it could be a coincidence that her friend has that name, but I also feel like because Tigra has a lot of connections to Hawkeye. She was a big part of the West Coast Avengers group, which Hawkeye founded and was the leader of for a long time. And so I feel like that's kind of more of a connection there that they could be setting up. Again, they've talked about doing splinter off Avengers. So like I think Kevin Feige or one of the heads that's mentioned a while back that you're going to have your main Avengers group, and then you're going to have other ones. And a lot of people's talked about like Dark Avengers and Young Avengers, but we could see a West Coast Avengers, which I would be very interested to see. Also, I wanted to talk about one of the other things is the LARP scene, where Hawkeye has to kind of do LARP in order to get his Ronin costume back, which I also thought was interesting, because speaking of multiverses and stuff, there's the whole medieval universe, and again, because they set up Black Knight in the Eternals movie with Dane Whitman, and kind of now they're doing the LARPing thing, so they could be setting us up. Speaking of noir universes and different multiverses, could be setting us up for like a medieval thing, which would be really cool, and I'd be really interested to see. I'm a big fan of like sci-fi and fantasy. See, I got my Game of Thrones thing here, and I've got over, you can't see it here, but on my other shelf I've got some Game of Thrones and Princess Bride Funkos and stuff. So like that could be really cool to see a nice little dive into like a medieval universe, multiverse. Okay, the next 3 things on my list are kind of all tied together. So speaking of spin-offs and ideas, so first let's start Lucky the dog. One of my favorite characters. I love him in the comics, the video games. I love him in the show already. I'm a bit of a here's the thing. I'm more of a cat person, but I still love dogs, especially golden retrievers and like golden labs and stuff. And Lucky is the best, one of the best. And also he loves pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? I love pizza. Speaking of, that's one of the points I wanted to make. New York pizza is the best, in my opinion. Now, I know it's a controversial topic, but I went to New York in high school for a trip, a senior high school trip, or is it senior trip? However they titled it or called it. I got to go. My dad was one of the chaperones, so we got to hang out a lot and spend a lot of time in New York City. And one of our favorite memories from that trip and favorite takeaways from that trip was we got to go on the last, well, not the last day we was there. It was our last day in Manhattan. Go to this little hole-in-the-wall restaurant called Ray's Pizza. At least it was like a hole in the wall then. But we decided, since it was our last full day, since we wanted to save for at least one really cool, unique eating experience. And obviously everybody talks about New York pizza, so we had to go get some official, legit New York pizza. So we went to this place called Ray's Pizza. We just seen it on the side of the street there, and we was like, sure, why not? It's just a little tiny place. There wasn't even hardly much seating in there. Kind of dim lighting and stuff, but man, it just felt authentic. It felt legit, and the food, the pizza was good. Like, you could watch them right there in front of you making it behind the counter and stuff. And one of the best meals, one of the best pizza, anything that I've ever had. And still remember to this day. I've not had the fortune to go back, but New York style pizza is my favorite style now of eating. And I'll always remember Ray's Pizza. So getting to watch them running around New York, especially with Lucky the dog, eating tons of pizza and like New York style pizza is great. So that's been it's really fun kind of getting to see that, because it kind of reminds me of when we was in New York, which I really appreciate. But speaking of Lucky the dog, here's something that no one's talking about that I'm aware of, that I've heard or seen, that no one's talking about, that I'm curious about, and I would like to see happen. Maybe it'll never happen, but you know what they say about saying never. Especially with DC just released, ironically, the trailer to the League of Super Pets. They released the first full trailer where Dwayne Johnson's playing Crypto the Super Dog, and you've got Kevin Hart basically playing Ace the Bat Hound, even though I guess in the trailer he's not Ace the Bat Hound yet, because he finds him at like a pound or whatever. But either way, the Avengers had a comic series that was called Avengers Pets, and I'm just saying, right now the Marvel Universe is kind of in a good position, especially now with adding Lucky. You've got Goose the cat from Captain Marvel. If they found a way to bring him back, you had Sparky in WandaVision. There's the alligator Loki that was set up in the Loki series. So they're kind of prime position to do a Avengers Pets, or do their own pet spin-off thing, which would be really fun. I would really enjoy that. In the comics, I think it may have been Goose the cat. I know Lockjaw from the Inhumans was part of it. Red Wing, which was Falcon's actual bird. I know in the show it's like a drone, but he had an actual pet falcon in the comics. So like all of them kind of like ganged together. And I think at one point they had to fight Thanos, if I'm right. They had to fight Thanos after defeated the Avengers. I don't remember all the details. I read it a long time ago. But it was a really fun series, a really cute series, and I feel like they kind of have been implying and hinting at a lot of these different Avengers or MCU animals and critters that are becoming instantly recognizable and very memorable, and people are loving it. Even look at like Shang-Chi with somebody like Morris. They could really hammer home a really cute, awesome Avengers Pets series or MCU Pets thing that I think would kind of rival and kind of be a nice kind of matchup with the DC Super Pets thing. So I don't know for sure. Like I said, that may not be their goal at all. They may just be trying to put cute animals out there, but I'm just saying there's an idea there, Marvel. I would pay to go see it. I know family and friends that would pay to go see it. We need a MCU Pets movie or show or something. Heck, it could even be a what if episode. What if the Avengers animals what if it was up to the pets to stop Thanos or the snap, Just whatever you want to do with it. I'm here for it. So, yeah. But overall, first 2 episodes, was a lot of fun. Like I said, you had the musical, you had New York pizza, you had LARPing in Central Park. You had a lot of New York stuff, and especially at Christmas time. And there was a lot of adventures and a little mafia and fight scenes and gunplay. And even like the second episode ends with them being kidnapped. Hawkeye intentionally, her less so. There's even a fencing scene, which was really cool because as a swords fan myself, like all the swordsman stuff was really cool. It's just so far, it feels really nice. It's a nice breath of fresh air. It's different than what they're doing in any of the other series so far. As always, like it still feels Marvel, but it also just feels different. It feels like they're trying something new every time, and I hope it continues to go that way. I'm really enjoying it so far. Feeling like a 80s buddy cop action film set in New York around Christmas time, like Die Hard or even Lethal Weapon. A lot of people forget it was set at Christmas time, So yeah, I'm all in for the series so far, and I highly recommend it. And stay tuned. I'll try to give my thoughts more as the show goes along, and for any of the other Marvel stuff, or any other just pop culture news in general that I watch or review or react to, I'll keep you guys posted. But for now, like, comment, subscribe, share, let us know your thoughts, and see you guys next time.